Welcome back to the channel. My name is Thomas Fletcher and I'm the host of the LCSW network. If you're new to the channel, please do me a favor by smashing that like button, by subscribing to the channel, and by sharing this video with your social work colleagues and friends. The purpose of this channel is to create a community of hope and support where social workers can come for relevant news, information, and inspiration. Well, welcome back to Self-Care Saturday. Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 34 of our Self-Care Saturday series. So we are continuing to review excerpts from my book, Self-Care Tips for Social Workers and Other Licensed Mental Health Professionals, now available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats. So in today's show, we will be reviewing an excerpt from Chapter 28 on laughter. So in the original video last year and then in the book, I reviewed an article that I found on everydayhealth.com. In this article, they talk about 6 tips that we can use for bringing more laughter into our lives. All right, so let's get into it. The first tip they talk about is don't worry about being funny. We need to be able to see the humor in everyday situations. Okay. Tip number 2 is we need to curate our comedy collection. So in this chapter, I talked about binging on, I gave an example of how I used to binge on news programs until the middle of 2020, between pandemic coverage and police brutality coverage. It just got to be too much for me, and I had to take personal responsibility for my own media intake, and I had to start taking responsibility for my intake of humor and comedy to kind of balance out, all the heaviness in the news media that I was watching. All right, so the article talks about how it's important for us to be able to create a collection of comedy content that we can refer to, whether it's TV shows, movies, just funny things that we can read. Okay, so that's tip number 2: curate our comedy collection. Tip number 3 is to take a laugh break. Okay. I cited a research study from the Journal of Business and Psychology. It was from December 2014, which found that a well-planned 15-minute break for humor can bolster our productivity. Okay, so the research shows that taking a 15-minute humor break is good for our productivity. All right, the next tip number 4, is to try the 3 funny things exercise. And so what they mean by this is just like many of us are used to keeping a gratitude journal, I still continue to keep a gratitude journal where I keep track of things that I'm grateful for throughout my day, my week. So the 3 funny things exercise is similar, okay? It calls for us to keep track of humorous or funny things that happen to us, during the day. Okay. Another study that I cited, which is published in the May 2018 issue of Frontiers in Psychology, found that people who reflected and wrote down 3 amusing things that happened to them at the end of each day, it showed that they had a decrease in depression symptoms and increased overall happiness for up to 6 months. So in other words, a humor journal trains you to see humor in real time. So let's all start keeping a humor or 3 funny things journal. Okay, tip number 5 is to tap laughter to learn more. So I learned something that I didn't know as I was studying to make the original video last year, which became the chapter for this book. So when I was studying to create that original journal, that original video last year, I did not know that the stress hormone cortisol damages the hippocampus. I'm sure the doctors out there already knew that, or the neurologists, but I didn't know that until I studied to do the original video last year. So cortisol damages the memory center of the hippocampus, okay? The hippocampus is the area in the brain that's involved in language and memory. Okay, so apparently laughter is a powerful antidote for stress. Laughter helps repair that damage and makes it easier to form new memories, according to research published in the spring 2014 issue of Advances in Mind-Body Medicine. Okay, the last tip, tip number 6, is don't be afraid to lighten up. It's so important that we learn to laugh at ourselves and not take ourselves too seriously. Sometimes we get caught up in our own egos. I know for myself that sometimes I take myself way too seriously, and I just need to cut that out. So I'm going to start practicing these 6 tips. So just a quick recap of what we covered today. We talked about not worrying about being funny. That was tip number 1. Tip number 2 was to curate our comedy collection. Tip number 3 was to take a laugh break. Tip number 4 was to try the 3 funny things exercise, or what I called keeping a humor journal. Tip number 5 was to tap laughter to learn more. And tip number 6 was don't be afraid to lighten up. All right? So I hope that we can all incorporate more laughter into our everyday self-care practices. Let's try it, right? Let's try it. We all have to laugh more for ourselves, for our clients, for our family and our friends, right? I mean, we've gone through over 2 years of this global pandemic where we're working with our clients 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and then we're balancing our family lives, our personal lives, hobbies and interests. And hopefully those hobbies and interests and our family and our personal lives involves a lot of laughter. I hope so. All right, so I'm going to stop right there, but I want to thank you all for watching this video. To all the social workers and other licensed mental health professionals out there, thank you for the work that you do every day, for your clients, for your agency, and for the profession. Please continue to support each other and yourselves. Bye for now.